Hello. We are back for another issue of Marvel Time. Let me get the official banner up there. Wait, hang on. There it is. There we go. Now it's official. As you can see, things are a little bit different today. We don't have Benji, so it's just going to be me and Bekah breaking down today's comics, and then, of course, getting into Loki as well as some more Marvel news from the past week. And of course, some Marvel must-haves as well, some new Marvel merchandise. But let's start off with this week's comics. And Bekah, I know you got a chance to read a few of these. We have 5 like we normally do, but you got a chance to read 3 of the 5, correct?
Yes.
All right, so we are going to start off with the ones that you haven't read. And those are the 2 X-Men related comics. First, we have Sword.
I looked through the pictures. I didn't read it, but I looked at all the pictures. So.
All right, so we've played this game with Kyle on here before. So what I need from you is to tell me, just based on the cover here, and I guess what you briefly skimmed through, what's this comic about?
Yeah, let's see. It looks like some mystical object there that they're all, I don't know, like they're all offended by it. They're trying to, they're like trying to shame it and going away. I have no idea.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair guess. It's not right, but based on what the cover shows you, that's what you should have guessed. This is really a comic about intergalactic politics, more or less. What's going on with the X universe right now is they just terraformed Mars and have mutants living on Mars now, and this is a meeting of different leaders of alien cultures and going over, the consequences of this new move. So that's basically what this whole issue is about. And they are gifting them this mysterious new metal. I believe the name of it was Mysterium, something along those lines. So yeah, there's some bribery at work. So it's politics as usual, right? Like that's pretty much what this whole thing is. I will say this issue opened up with some really, really awesome artwork. It also had a really cool conversation between Captain America and Dr. Doom, which was like 3 or 4 pages long. That was definitely the best part of the issue for sure. I think those 2 characters kind of stole the show. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, not my favorite, as is the typically the case with the X comics, but also not bad. I think worth checking out. 1, for the art. There's phenomenal artwork throughout this issue, and then 2, that Dr. Doom Captain America stuff is a lot of fun too.
And then it looked like Scarlet Witch is in part of this as well.
Yeah,
there is a spoiler.
It is and it isn't. It's not really a big key point to any other ongoing story or anything like that. But it's cool that that she showed up, given everything that's happening in the X universe and the history between her and all of mutant kind. So yeah, it's a pretty big occasion to happen in an X comic. So it's going to be interesting to see if that progresses going forward. We know there's some stuff coming up with Magneto that's going to shake things up a little bit. So that'll be interesting.
Cool.
And our second X comic here is The Way of X, number 3. And this has actually been my favorite ongoing comic with the X-Men right now. So before I go into it anymore, this is the other one that you didn't get a chance to read. Tell me, what do you think? What's this one about?
Well, okay. Isn't Nightcrawler kind of leading them in when they announced this series? Isn't he kind of like leading their new group?
Yes, and he's leading an aspect of it, which is basically trying not to lose their, I mean, it's probably a poor choice of words, but lose their humanity. Okay. There's a lot going on with mutants, and being able to resurrect mutants changes the way that they live their lives. So that's what Nightcrawler is sort of in charge of now.
Okay. And I feel like it had something to do with like a religion almost, because this kind of looks like your little savior baby. So I don't know. Yeah, they're not watching the child. They fell asleep and they're supposed to be watching the savior child, but savior child's gonna get into some I don't know, crazy mischief or something. Completely off the mark.
I mean, well, no, you're not. You're right about the religion aspect of it for sure. The savior, the baby, is not really all that much of a character, actually. In the
Okay.
story, kind of, again, a little bit misleading aspect of the cover here. But before we dive into this real quick, I'm just going to catch up on a few comments here. Hi, Caitlin. Tony isn't here right now, but we'll tell him you said hey. Sorry if we're having any technical issues. I think it looks like things are working okay right now. And then we have SF Gaming in India. Hi, that's awesome.
Hey.
So yeah, this is, like I said, this has been my favorite ongoing X comic right now. Nightcrawler, like I said, has been placed in charge of leading that next wave of mutants and changing the way they live their lives. And this tied in, at least in the beginning of this issue, to the Hellfire Gala, which has been going on for the last few weeks. And Nightcrawler has a lot on his mind right now, so he gets pretty drunk at the Hellfire Gala. And so the first few pages are him dealing with everyone while very much under the influence, and it was very funny. But then it does turn a corner and gets back to the story that we are dealing with, which is more or less Nightcrawler and Legion and a few other characters hunting Onslaught, which has been a major X-Men villain in the past and is returning in a very creepy way. So I like the way they're handling that. There's also the involvement of a Krakoan brothel, more or less. So there's a lot of different aspects to this story, but it's been fun.
Is Krakoa kind of like Pandora in some aspects?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I've been saying for a while now I would love for Krakoa to make its way to a Disney park. I know it doesn't have the name recognition; nobody would know what they're walking into, but it is very similar to Pandora in that way, and I think it would be great, like to step into it and be really, really, immersive and really cool to see. All right, so let's get into some of the comics that you have read. So first off, we'll jump into Web of Spider-Man, and this is issue number 2 of the series that kicked off a few weeks ago. That is tying into Avengers Campus and the Worldwide Engineering Brigade, the Web Slingers attraction over at Avengers Campus. What did you think about this one?
It was fun. Yeah, I like that it's the kids, teenagers. But yeah, fun would be the word for this.
Yeah, I think this is a really good comic for people who want to just jump right in. You don't have to worry about a whole lot of context. It gives you everything you need to know. And even though this is issue number 2, you didn't miss much. It's not a very complex story. It's easy to digest for sure. I looked at this as it felt like a very old school comic. Like if you were to pick up a comic from the 70s or 80s or something like that, it reads very similar to that. It's not nearly as wordy as those comics were, sure. But that sort of style where the character is basically saying out loud what they're doing or what they're about to do in order to provide that. Whereas more modern comics don't typically do that as much, and then they let the art speak for themselves a little bit more. But this isn't my favorite ongoing story right now, because it's what it is it's like meant to tie into Avengers Campus. That's what this story is accomplishing. So I think it's cool it's great actually that this came out the week that it's me and you talking about the comics as opposed to me and Benji, because I like getting that perspective of somebody who's not reading 5 comics every week with something like this,
Right. I will say, so he's Spider-Man, or Peter Parker's part of this like science group that Tony put together, but they don't know he's Spider-Man. Like I found that a little baffling. I'm like, is this character still a secret even amongst other intelligent, especially super intelligent kids like this group? And how many times he like slips up and he says, "Oh, well, Spider-Man's gonna need."
Yeah, I kept expecting them to figure it out, and they probably will at some point in this series. But I do like that they're keeping that going, because Spider-Man is the one character in the Marvel universe who, keeps his secret identity very close to the vest, and that's a big part of who he is. So I like that they're playing with that a little bit. Of course, you get Spidey in trouble, or Peter Parker in trouble with Iron Man in this issue as well, which is always fun. But yeah, it's a cool group of characters. It's different. You get Squirrel Girl and Moon Girl in there, and so it's fun. It's just not something that, if you're a big Spider-Man fan, I don't think it's a story that you need to pick up, and but it's fun, especially if you're going to visit Avengers Campus, to just get a little bit more context.
And can I ask, who is it Onomi? Is that
Yeah,
right?
she is from Wakanda.
Okay.
She appeared in one of the Future Foundation comics a while back, like the Fantastic Four spin-off series a long time ago. So,
Okay.
yeah, she's just another brilliant character. And is actually, all of these characters, too, are featured in the queue of Web Slingers, A Spider-Man Adventure, and Avengers Campus. So a pretty cool connection there.
Very cool. And last thing, I thought it was fun that Tippy Toe had pizza and wanted to be famous like Pizza Rat.
Yeah, I gotta love a Pizza Rat reference in a comic. Let's stick with Spider-Man and jump over to the Amazing Spider-Man number 69, the continuation of the Chameleon conspiracy that's been going on here. I'm very curious about your thoughts here, because you're jumping into the third part of this ongoing story. Were you able to make sense of it, and were you able to enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. I was reading through it quickly, so I didn't take a lot of time to try to digest what I'm reading. They did set up at the beginning what the whole series has been about. Now I want to go back and read the first two parts. I like this though. I'm a little confused as to what's going on, but there's something with that. I wrote it down and now I don't remember what it is. Is it the chameleon? Is that what the giant mind reading thing or thing
Oh,
that's
no, I
no,
don't
that's
know if
something else.
they've given us an actual name for the tech. That was actually one of my points about this story. And I'll just say, Benji and I have been kind of iffy on this story. It feels like sort of a holdover between one big story and the next. And my favorite part of this issue, once again, was the end, the tease for Sinister War coming up.
Sure.
Another, 1 or 2 pages with Dr. Octopus. But one of my big issue with this is that, it's always about Spider-Man trying to stop a villain from stealing some sort of huge, powerful weapon or some sort of tech. And really what they were trying to steal here is just some tech that kind of predicts the future, but is only accurate 80 to 90% of the time. And they're like, well, this is so dangerous, they can't have it. Really, is it? It's basically like they're stealing a Google Home. I feel like they could probably let them get away with that for a little bit. But yeah, it's an interesting story. It's probably not, for example, you said you'd want to go back and read the first 2. I would recommend actually going back a little bit further and just reading the Kindred story instead, or waiting and checking out Sinister War, as opposed to diving into this one. Because, like I said, I think this is a bit of a holdover between 2 stories.
I was wondering or did you watch Westworld? Have you kept up with Westworld?
I have, yes. And I had the same thought with that technology.
Okay. Yeah. It reminded me of Solomon from the 3rd season, or it was Solomon, right? Or Rehoboam. What? No, yeah, something like that.
It sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, that giant computer thing that predicted, that figured out what everybody's paths in life were and kind of assigned them. I don't know, but yeah, that's the vibe I was getting.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I saw that they explained that whole technology, and I was like, oh, it's like Westworld. But also at the same time, I don't think this is that big a deal that you have this thing that you stole this thing, really. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. There are some fun things going on with Ned Leeds in this story that I'm interested to see how that plays out. If we see him come back as the Hobgoblin, that'll be interesting. But
is
from that,
Ned and then Betty I know they're not the MCU versions, but are those the same characters that Spider-Man in Homecoming is friends with?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Same characters. Okay. Very different, obviously, like you said.
Right.
Way more history to them now, but
yes.
Same characters.
Okay. I was like, okay, good.
So let's get to our final issue of the week, and this is Heroes Return #1, which is confusingly the finale of the ongoing story Heroes Reborn. Benji and I kind of complain about the numbering of these issues all the time.
Yeah, I specifically read this because I was like, well, this is the first one. So I'm like, I should probably make sure I read the first in the series if I have the opportunity.
Yeah, and you were probably a little bit confused by that because, again, like I said, this is the finale of the series. That being said, aside from the numbering, and I mean, I had a few issues with it here and there, but this is going to be my pick of the week. I've really enjoyed the Heroes Reborn. And by the way, we didn't even give you a chance here. Do you have a pick of the week out of the 3 that you got to read?
Uh, no, not yet.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, I like this. I think basically, more or less, to summarize this really quick, Blade, who has been sort of the central character of this story, woke up and the world around him was just completely different. The Avengers were gone. Captain America was still on ice. And the heroes were the Squadron Supreme, which was Hyperion and Nighthawk and a bunch of other characters that have never, well, Hyperion and Nighthawk have existed, but there were some others that haven't. And it's a completely different world. It's a different Marvel universe. Iron Man is dead and the Hulk is dead and a bunch of different changes to the Marvel universe. So it was a very different story, but Blade realized, that something is wrong, and he started collecting these other characters who also realized something's wrong. And here we have the clash of the Avengers, the reassembled Avengers, and the Squadron Supreme. And this is sort of the blow off to the whole story here. And it was very action heavy. It did the classic, a team versus a team where each one of them has like one-on-one fights throughout the issue. And there were some fun fights. It was very interesting dynamics between like Black Panther and Blur and Nighthawk and Thor and Hyperion had a great fight. Nighthawk and Blade. So there were some really fun pages in this. I do think it ended kind of abruptly. It felt like things were going, and then all of a sudden it just went back to normal, which is fine. I mean, you're dealing with these sort of cosmic powers, that kind of stuff happens, but it kind of felt a little bit rushed to me. I don't know. What did you think?
Well, like you were saying, there were several different fun battles. Yeah, I found myself like getting invested in what was happening, and then it was like, oh, we're gonna jump to something else. And I'm like, nah, I'm like, like good story telling,
Right.
jumping back and forth between things, and it was all very interesting. I was confused to who that like small child with superpowers, who's I don't even remember the name.
Yeah, so it's the Star brand. It's more an energy that has now taken hold of this child.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. It's hard to explain, but it's a cosmic hero, more or less.
Because I was wondering, is this a Scotty Young version of a character that they've like the style of the baby's hair or the kid's hair and everything? I was like, oh, they're just using his drawings and.
But yeah, I did like this. It set up something really cool with the Council of Red, which is a bunch of Mephisto. Well, by the way, all Mephisto we're looking for. Yeah, we found it all in this issue right here.
615 of them, right? Or 616?
616. Yeah, exactly. 616. So a Mephisto for every world, more or less. Yeah, so that set some interesting things up. I liked this series as a whole. I'm curious to see if they keep this going at all. I mean, there are some loose ends. Like we get back to the normal world, and Hyperion seems to know that there's something wrong. Nighthawk knows there's something wrong. So I guess we'll see if they follow that thread any further.
And I have one question about the Pandemonium Cube. Is that kind of like the Infinity Stones, where it has special powers?
Yeah, so I mean they didn't give us a ton of information about it throughout this story. It's more or less like a cosmic cube, which is just another artifact that exists in the Marvel universe. This one though came from Mephisto, so it has, I guess, some more dark powers to it. I'm not sure that we've seen the last of it. I would imagine there's going to be some more given the whole Council of Red thing. But yeah, I'm interested to learn more about it. So that is it for our comics for the week. I guess we should probably get into Loki. But before we actually get into the show itself, let's talk about some of the merchandise connected to it.
Yeah. So we're a little the timing is a little weird. They changed I think they've changed their release schedule. So I'm still trying to catch up, but this was last Friday we got some new items. I'm especially excited about the Ravana and Miss Minutes
Yes.
little pop here. And then of course there's Hunter B15 and that's an Amazon exclusive and I think I pulled both of those up. So yeah, these are available for pre-order at Amazon. But yeah,
Yeah,
look how fun! How
I
fun!
know. I love that. I hope they still do a full size Miss Minutes pop,
Me too.
but I do love this this little miniature one that comes with Ravana here.
Yeah, and I like that Ravana's tie has the TVA as well.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have even noticed that.
So, yeah, pretty cool. Um, there's also, of course, more shirts over at Hot Topic. Some of these, like this one here, you can get different. Or maybe I pulled that up. You can get different colors.
Okay.
So which is kind of fun. You have a chance to, well, I guess that one doesn't. There we go. You can have a chance to customize them if you like. So to better fit your wardrobe.
So those of us who live in Florida are not locked into having to get a black shirt. Got it.
Right. Right. Yeah. You can do this green, this Kelly green, which I'm not sure I like that color, but I'm sure plenty of people do. And then there's also, a blue version. So several different options for you there. Same thing with the Loki shirt. So most of those on Hot Topic, not all, but most of them are customizable. And then yeah, we saw the one with the um, timekeepers. I like this pillow,
Yeah.
which I think is also on Amazon. So yeah, again, one of these things where there's a whole bunch at several different whole bunch of items at several different store or several different retailers. But yeah, and you can do a couple different sizes, a little bit bigger if you need that for your couch. We've got the variant socks at Rockham, and I think
Those
they
are
also
awesome.
had, yeah. And then there's the timeline. Yes, always watching the timeline. And then there's a Cos baby coming soon. These figures are so weird because they look, of course, like children being their cause babies, but then they also look like their adult versions. It's so bizarre. But do you have any of these?
I don't. Looking at them, they just remind me of the movie Boss Baby. That's all I can see in the face there.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So little boss baby Loki. And yeah, not a ton for this week. Would remind everybody to go listen to Zacks of Life. So uh,
Yeah. By the way, Bekah was our guest on Zacks of Life this past week, and we drafted historical events to drop Marvel characters into. So that was a lot of fun. You can check that out now.
yes, it was fun. It was also very stressful, but fun. Fun stress.
Well, so Bekah stole the draft with her last pick, by the way. So you can look forward to
Yeah, that's a
that.
great tease. Lower your expectations, folks. But
Keep an
yes,
eye out,
definitely.
by the way, to vote in the poll for that. That'll be up on our Twitter account at Zacks of Life Pod later tonight.
Cool. So yeah, that's what I've got for you for the Marvel must-haves, and we'll have more next week, of course.
Before we jump into Loki, a couple of comments I want to point out. What is time? I totally agree, especially after this past 5 or 6 days. I have no concept of time anymore, and Loki is not helping with that. Christian asks, has anyone been to Avengers Campus yet? Yes, this actually came from Avengers Campus. And you can go back and check out last week's episode of Marvel Time, which I was in Avengers Campus for. And we also had a live walk around Avengers Campus as well. So plenty of coverage from Avengers Campus. Just go back and check that out on our YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, and all the fun stuff. And of course, laughingplace.com. And then one more, Jeremiah
Right?
agrees with me. Yes, anything but black shirts.
Florida's too hot.
All right, so we had the 3rd episode of Loki debut today on Disney Plus. Before we dive into specific details,
I lost you.
Oh no!
I heard what and then it went quiet. So what
Can
was
you
your
hear now?
question?
Okay, yeah, okay. What did you think about the episode
I
as a
mean,
whole?
it I was confused, but I didn't want it to end. I'm like, "Give me the next episode." More than any of the other Disney Plus series, this one, I'm like, "Give me more." I'm not done yet. So I was a little bit confused, but it was visually pleasing. What about you?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, it was, yeah, definitely visually pleasing for sure. It was beautiful, and we'll talk about the end of this episode as we get there. But I loved that it kind of changed up the feel of the whole show, and whereas everything felt so claustrophobic inside the TVA over the last two episodes, this got us out there, and we were like barely in the TVA at all, and we were exploring this other, new world to us, or new moon, I guess, not the Twilight book.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, so it was cool to get out there and kind of change up the feel of the show. Want to talk about a few specific points throughout the episode. We open up with this, we're in a restaurant. It feels completely different, like watching the wrong thing for a little bit here. And we see that Hunter from the last week, not B-15 Hunter, I think it was C-20, something along those lines, the one who was abducted by the variant, and the variant herself, they're sitting in a restaurant talking, and it seems like they're friends. And then all of a sudden she asks, how many people are guarding the timekeepers? And so we learn pretty quickly that this is an illusion. And I really like the way that they did that. One, I faked us all out first, and then also, this is a new power. This is a new Loki, energy, I guess, that we haven't seen before from the Loki that we know. So it was cool to see that this variant has some other abilities.
Right. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
It also explains too what we saw last week. So this was a little bit of a jump back, because we then see, when she comes out of the illusion, she sees Loki and Mobius, their team, getting up to the store. So we jump back a little bit, and this explains why when we catch up with that Hunter, she is, trying to recollect herself and saying it's real. This is all real. Like, she's, messed up from dealing with this illusion. So it was kind of piece things together, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was also surprised at how quickly, or just that this Loki variant, uh, she got the information she needed like right before the timekeepers got there. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we saw how that played out, but I'm like, wow, you could not have planned that any better. Like, well, not planned it, but like
It just
that was
worked out, right?
close call. Yeah.
Yeah, good writing will make that happen. I liked too. So we saw that the variant then back in TVA, that's where Loki followed her to in the end of last week's episode, and she is taking out these Minutemen one by one, and very easily, really. Like, there's not much of a fight going on, and Ravana shows up after Loki. They catch up. They have their little argument, but Ravana shows up, and rather than taking them on, Ravana and her 2 Minutemen that are with her, they feel the need to run. And I think that says something about Ravana as a character. I think she's more of a threat than these other guards. So I like that they're building her up to be something special as well. Yeah. It is Loki that opens up this time gate for them to escape. And so he grabs the what they call the temp pad. I don't know if they had said that in previous episodes. It was, to me, the first time I heard it. So yeah, Loki grabbed the temp pad from the variant and opened up this portal without really knowing where it was taking them. And it turns out they go to Lamentis 1 in the year 2077, which is a moon that the planet is about to crash into and kill everybody on it. So, and the variant tells him this is, of all of the apocalypses in the temp pad, this is the worst one. So, yeah, typical Loki move to mess things up like that.
Right. Yeah. Maybe this is more later on, but I feel like he doesn't quite understand. Like, he doesn't understand what's going on, and he's just operating with what works best for him. So it's kind of interesting to see him in a position of, some confusion or whatever, or just not being put in his place, but like you don't understand the full picture here yet. You're only
Right.
operating with a little bit of information and
Yeah,
mostly
I was
assumptions.
right. Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. We're so used to him having a plan and being steps ahead of everybody, and knowing exactly what's going on, and seeing him kind of fly by the seat of his pants has been fun. He's been taking it very well, like hilarious throughout. But yeah, it's interesting to see him, like I said, in a different way. Momentous one, the way, yeah, sorry, I knew Kyle. I thought, well, Bekah, you were going to mention it, but I knew if you didn't, Kyle would. Sorry, streets ahead, not steps ahead. Momentous one, by the way, did have some comic book connection. The only thing I recognize it from is the Annihilation story arc. Play a huge role. It exists sort of in the beginning of the story, but I haven't dove too much into my research on Momentous one just yet. I'm sure there might be some other connections as well, so we'll have to see. One of the biggest things of this episode is we learn this variant's name, which I'm glad we can get to now so that we can stop calling her the variant. And this is Sylvie. So interesting. I'm not sure what's going on with this character here, because we've known her as a variant of Loki, but she says her name is Sylvie. She has these enchanting powers, and that connects her to a comic book character, which is Sylvie Lushton. I think I'm pronouncing the last name right. It's one of those names that I've only seen it written. And that is the second Enchantress in the Marvel Comics universe. So makes a lot of sense. She's actually also a member of the Young Avengers for a stretch. So I don't know that this character fits with the Young Avengers in the MCU. I guess we'll see. We could go that direction, but interesting that they've connected this, what was supposed to be Loki, to a different character now. What would you like to see from that character? Do you think, would you rather it be just another Loki, or would you rather it be, a Young Avenger, or the other ideas?
I think personally, I think I'd like her to be a character we've not met before, instead of an alternate version or a different version of a character that we know. But that's just me personally. I think I feel like there's still enough going on to have Loki as part of that you don't need a alternate version of that character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally does.
But yeah, I really like her. Marvel characters, like every single character that they introduced me to, I'm like, I like them. I like the casting, I like the portrayal. Every single time. We've spent an hour with her at most, and I'm like, she's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right. With these series have been knocking it out of the park, really, with Agatha Harkness and John Walker, and now Sylvie, and I mean so many other characters throughout the series as well too. But yeah, you're right. I love this character already, and I can't wait to see what they do with her, whatever it ends up being. And Christian pointed out she might be Amora the Enchantress. Amora is the sort of the first Enchantress, and then she kind of builds her style around that character. So yeah, this could be the MCU's version of the Enchantress as a whole, rather than committing to a specific one, I suppose.
Do you have a preference on what you would like?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to get a clear answer, as opposed to being, well, she's kind of Loki, but she's also kind of this other character. I just hope they give us a straight answer one way or the other. And I'm sure they will give us something that explains it. But yeah, I don't really care either way. I just think this is going to be a really fascinating character going forward. One thing I feel like we need to talk about from this episode too is that the conversation between Loki and Sylvie. And Sylvie, they're talking about the concept of love. And Sylvie says, you're a prince. There must have been other princesses and would-be princesses, or maybe another prince. And Loki points out a bit of both, actually. And the director, Kate Herron, tweeted about this, and she said it was so important to her to point out that Loki, is bisexual, and that it's a big part of her her life as well. So I thought that was a really cool moment, and I'm sure that a lot of people were happy to see that, and a lot of people watching today.
Yeah, I think that's something people have been questioning for a long time, or even in the comics, he's that way, right? Or he's bisexual, right? Or
Well,
maybe
completely everything out.
okay,
And so,
just okay. So I think this is definitely something that I'm sure people are happy to have that answer, like canon in the MCU.
yeah, totally agree. Jeremiah points out that she's Mephisto. Sure, she might be a Skrull. I don't know.
This week's scroll.
Another really funny moment in this episode was Loki finishing one of his drinks, slamming a glass on the bar, and saying another. That was obviously a callback to the first Thor movie, which one of the funniest moments in the history of the MCU. And I've noticed a lot of Loki becoming more and more like Thor. I don't know if you felt that way at all too, but I think I mentioned it on Zacks of Life this past week, where there was a delivery of one of his lines last week that felt like it was coming from Chris Hemsworth. Like it felt like Thor was saying it. And I like that they're kind of connecting those two characters a little bit more as we go on.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also maybe part of it is also you miss people in your life, and so you're kind of I don't know, emulating some of their characteristics or turning to them, or yeah, like what would they do in this situation? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's also, I mean, they've just spent so much time together too that maybe they're just kind of, so yeah, that makes sense. One of the big reveals episode 2 was Sylvie explains when she was looking through the hunter's mind that she went back into a deep memory from when before she worked for the TVA. And that shocks Loki because he had been told that TVA agents were created by the Timekeepers to work at the TVA. And she tells him this lady was a human living on Earth before and was then taken into the TVA. She was actually, they're all variants that have then been brought to TVA. So that changes things. That's very interesting to see, and Loki points out too, they don't know this. They don't know that they used to be human. So that means Mobius even is somebody who has a past life and doesn't know about it. So this show, which has already been kind of dark, and it's just adding another dark layer on top of it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Are they going to be able to recover their memories, or how's this going to?
Yeah, no, I briefly thought about that when all that information was revealed, but again, I haven't taken a lot of time to sift through the information. But yeah, it is a dark turn, and you feel kind of bad for everybody. You're like, okay, they might not have any say in how they even got there.
Yeah, there's some big things at play here. I'm really interested to see how this winds up, or even if we get answers by the end of this 6th episode. Maybe it sets things up moving forward. I don't know, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see what their solution is to all of this. All right, so to wrap up, I want to talk about the end of this episode, which is them trying to get on this ark as they try to escape this dying moon, because the temp pad got broken. They lost their way out, so now they have to get on this shuttle off of the moon to survive. And so they get to this city where everybody's trying to get onto this ark, and from the moment they step in there, it's one shot the rest of the way, and it's done so incredibly well. Like, I can't even imagine trying to shoot that and doing it all in one shot like that. It was, I mean, there are so many effects. There are some really awesome fight scenes happening really quickly. I mean, did that stand out as much to you as it did to me?
It felt different, but honestly, it didn't even dawn on me that it was one shot. Now I'm going to go back and be like, of course it's one shot. But yeah, it felt very different than some of the other scenes that we've watched in the series so far. And yeah, now that you say it, it's like, yeah, beautifully choreographed. Just And amazing acting too, because this was all on a green screen. Like, they probably
Right.
had, obstacles and stuff to dodge, and people were, assigned different things or whatever, but, like, oh my gosh, cannot wait for the assembled. Hopefully
Oh
they'll
yeah.
dive into how they made that.
Yeah, I hope they give us a half hour just on that, because that was really awesome. I mean, it brought me back to the first season of Daredevil on Netflix, where they did the same thing. A really, really awesome fight scene all in one shot that kind of took place just in one hallway. But this was them running through a city. There are explosions that knock them down. We see all sorts of different angles and not a single cut for the last, I want to say it's almost 5 minutes of the episode. It's honestly incredible. And then things wrap up with the Ark, of course, getting destroyed, leaving them stranded on this moon that's about to be completely destroyed. So all hope is lost. Of course, we know that's not going to be the case.
3 episodes left, right?
Right. So I want to know, what do you think? What's the solution that's going to pop up?
Yeah, maybe they'll find another time pad or something, or they'll I don't know. Maybe there's somebody there with powers to transport them.
Yeah.
Is it ridiculous if, like, would he be able to call Heimdall and have the, like, access
Oh,
the Rainbow Bridge?
well, so they're in 2077. So
Oh, yes,
Heimdall
he's already okay.
would be dead. We don't know what's up with Asgard at that point.
Okay.
My thought is, one, Loki is a trickster. That thing might not actually be broken. He probably actually has the real thing still fully functioning, maybe never even needed to be charged. Or the TVA is going to find them at the last second, and they're going to bring them back to the TVA. One of those two, I think, is probably the way to go. But I do like the idea of somebody existing in that time and reality finding them as well. That could add a whole new wrinkle into the show, and would be really interesting as well. Any other closing thoughts on this episode before we move on to some news?
When did Loki become the best character in the MCU?
I know there were some really awesome fight scenes, and he showed off some hand-to-hand skills that we've never seen before.
Yeah,
He's always been funny, but
right?
he's really, really, like you said, like, seeing him in this different dynamic allows him to open up a little bit more, and so that's been great. I think the chemistry between him and everybody in this show.
I was gonna say, he could talk to a light bulb for like an hour, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm totally there with you.
Yeah, the cast has been phenomenal. It's been great. I like I said too at the beginning, I think, they changed up the dynamic of this show with this episode, and yet it still worked. Like, nothing felt forced or didn't slow down or anything. If anything, really picked up. There was way more action in this episode than any of the other two. So I can't wait. I'm just gonna count down the days until next Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dive into some news from the past week in the world of Marvel. I'll just fly through some quick comic book things here. We are getting a new Miss Marvel series coming in September. So that's great. Probably lines up pretty well with the Miss Marvel series coming to Disney Plus. Although I would assume that's going to be coming late, like maybe December or something like that. Could overlap a little bit there. Nick Spencer's run on Amazing Spider-Man, which we talked about today with issue number 69. That's going to wrap up in September with issue number 74, which seems a little bit off in terms of the release schedule to me. There was only 5 issues left now, and that's going to end in September. So I guess this next week is already July. So I guess we'll see what maybe they're going to slow it down a little bit or what, but interesting that he's been writing Amazing Spider-Man for a long time now. So I'm interested to see what comes next. The one that I'm most interested in, though, is Dark Ages was announced, another series that'll be coming in September. And this is all about Earth's mightiest heroes failing and losing to some new threat, and then trying to come back from that and reform whatever they can after their loss. So that's going to be really interesting. And then we know World War She-Hulk will be coming in September as well, and they're teasing the Winter Hulk is coming. I don't know if that was riff on Game of Thrones or if it is actual serious plot point, but I'm interested either way.
Is this not a character that's existed, but like Winter Hulk isn't somebody that you're familiar with from, I don't know, years ago?
The name doesn't ring a bell. No, I mean, I haven't read a ton of Hulk comics, so there may be have been some mention of Winter Hulk. They may seem that this is some new thing.
Okay.
All right. Outside of comics, I do want to talk about, we got the first social reactions to Black Widow, which will be coming out July 9th on in theaters and on Disney Plus with Premiere Access. But I got our own Benji's first thoughts on Black Widow. He said it's worth the wait, with intense action, character moments that make you wish Endgame didn't happen so you could have more. I don't know if I'll ever wish Endgame didn't happen, but I totally get the sentiment. I can't wait to see Black Widow, and I'm sure I'm going to wish there was more. I'm looking forward to the new characters that can take things forward. And speaking of, throughout some of the other reactions here, everything I've seen has been incredibly positive towards Florence Pugh, who's playing Yelena Belova, the more or less sister of Black Widow. So I'm really excited to see what they do with that character. Lots of talk about some really, really great action. David Harbour is fantastic, is one of the unanimous thoughts out there as well. So, I mean,
is this where he wound up after Stranger Things? Like,
yes, yeah.
He just hopped universes.
It is Russia, right? So, I mean, that it all lines up. Let me see. Any other thoughts more about Florence Pugh and how great she is, which I'm really excited. She's a fantastic actress, so I can't wait to see her join the MCU. Yeah, mostly just a lot about the action being great and the cast being really great as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. Can't wait.
I'm excited too.
We've been waiting for so long for this movie.
I know. Yeah, it's been over a year.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Since it was originally supposed to.
It's been long enough that I've stopped watching the trailers and teasers and stuff, because at this point I feel like we can piece together the whole movie. So
I know. I was thinking that the other day. I was like, well, what's left? And I know there's going to be a lot more left, but I'm like, have you not shown us everything?
We'll breeze through some other bits of news here too. I'll bring this up here. We have a new sand here from Hasbro. Some really, really awesome pieces to this one. The accessories, like the head and the variant, the alternate head. I got Loki, on my brain now. And then the hands as well. So lots of cool changeable pieces for this very changeable character. Yep. The Hotel New York, the Art of Marvel Hotel, reopened. Well, I guess the Art of Marvel aspect of it opened for the first time to guests on the 21st, over in Disneyland Paris. Specifically picked out this image because I love that art over the bed with Spider-Man swinging over the skyline.
It's amazing.
Check out on laughingplace.com. We have a whole bunch of images of all of the art you can find all around the hotel. It looks fantastic. I can't wait to see it myself. It looks really, really awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited to. I honestly probably won't stay there, but I'm so excited to get to Disneyland Paris and then to be able to just walk around and even like eat in the restaurants and just see everything that's accessible to us normal people who don't stay there. But I mean, I would maybe that's on the wish list. Like,
for sure. The Disney wish list is very, very long at this point, but it's definitely on there for sure. And you mentioned the restaurants and stuff, and I know there's like a not interactive, but just an immersive bar with this New York skyline out the windows, and things like Iron Man flying by and Spider-Man swinging by in the distance. That's just so cool, such an awesome experience, and something I feel like every Marvel is gonna have to see at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then finally, we've got over at Disney Springs at the Ganachery, we've got these chocolate orange Miss Minutes ganache squares. So you can keep your Loki celebration going over at Disney Springs.
Yeah, those are so cute. I'm not a big fan of chocolate orange, but
Yeah.
I would definitely get some of these, at least for the
Yeah.
photos.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that flavor combination either. However, I have not ever had anything from the ganachery that wasn't delicious. Like
Yeah.
everything from there is fantastic. So, yeah, that might be something I have to try. But yeah, that's gonna do it. I think we got through all of our news, and of course, another episode of Loki. So. I think we said it. I think we're just going to be counting down the days till next Wednesday at this point.
I know. Yeah. Way to go, Marvel, making Wednesdays the most exciting day in the week.
And speaking of Disney Springs, those 6-minute chocolate squares at the ganachery, Jeremiah will be live at Disney Springs at 3 p.m. Pacific time, so shortly after we wrap up. Well, about an hour after, I suppose. But so yeah, he'll be on a little bit later, and of course, with Acts of Life, we have another episode out right now. You can check out that episode with Bekah joining us for another fun draft, and then we'll have another episode next week recapping this third episode of Loki. So if you want to take another deep dive into Loki, you can check that out. But yeah, anything else before we wrap up?
I'm good, thank you. Oh, love is a dagger.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Hopefully it comes up with a better metaphor before this series is over.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Okay.